Alright, welcome to an episode of Aina o Hawaii. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Kuleana lands and seeing what happens to Kuleana lands in Hawaii in the present day. And here we are in Waikiki Beach, a really gorgeous, beautiful beach here. Not as many people as there used to be because of the COVID here.
I might walk out that way.
But you can see this is sort of the beginning of the Waikiki here.
Yeah.
And up ahead here is Kapahulu, where it ends at Kalakaua. So, now the story with Kuleana lands. Hawaii had quite an unusual history of land tenure. It used to be a feudal system for a long time until King Kamehameha III instituted the Great Mahele in 1850 to basically give the land over to the common people. So that happened, and the land was divided up into three parts basically: government lands, the crown lands, which supposedly were owned by the monarchy or the monarch, depending on whose opinion that is. And then there was the commoners' land, which was divided up between the ali'i, the konohiki, and about 18,000 small parcels went to commoners who had worked the land for generations. And those are called the Kuleana lands. They're small little parcels, maybe like a couple acres. A lot of those Kuleana lands actually were lost by the Native Hawaiians that worked on them, because all kinds of nasty big companies and large landowners try to take over their little Kuleanas and used all kinds of tricky methods to get the land away from them. And this thing continues even today. You know, we have this process where modern large corporations taking away the land from the Hawaiians. And you know, the common way that's done is by a method called the quiet title process. Okay, you know, anybody can bring a quiet title in court and basically take over a Kuleana if they can show adverse possession. And a lot of times that's what happens. You know, people just take over these Kuleanas by showing that there's really nobody that they can find that claims it. So today we're going to look at a case of what looks like a Kuleana that was taken over here in Waikiki. Right in Waikiki, which is not well known for having a lot of Kuleana, but I think I found a case where that is true here. We're walking up Kapahulu now toward the Waikiki Grand Hotel, which is right up ahead of us here, just behind these buses. So we're going to go across the street here when we have a chance. And you know, basically this hotel owned part of the lot upon which it was built, but it ended up grabbing a Kuleana that was right next to it. And looks like they did it by a quiet title action. So let's go take a look at what happened here with the Kuleana that sits underneath the Waikiki Grand Hotel. And you can see the Waikiki Grand Hotel coming up here on the left with the green colored siding here, right behind the ABC store. This is basically an L-shaped building. I mean, there's a part here right on Kapahulu, and then there's a part in the back there that's on Lemon Street. Now, let's take a look at the original plat map for the Waikiki Grand Hotel. If we take a look here, This is the current plat map, which shows kind of the way we're looking at it right now. The Waikiki Grand takes up 18,000 square foot parcel on the corner of Kapahulu and Lemon. And that's looking from the front side, and we're looking from the front side toward that right here. But now the interesting thing about this is, if you look at the older plat map from the 1930s, you can see the Waikiki Grand's parcel was divided in two parts. There was a TMK 31, which is a current one, the smaller one, and then there's a TMK 32, which disappeared. If you look at the current, you know, there's no 32. It's 31 and 33. So apparently what happened is Waikiki Grand did a quiet title process and acquired this 32, which probably was a Kuleana, because if you check the Kipuka database at OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, they keep a database of all the old plots and all the LCA awards. This one is shown as unknown owners. Now, I've had plenty of experience with, you know, finding these kind of old Kuleanas. They typically are listed with like a large number of owners, maybe 10, 20 owners all listed, because they were the descendants of the original grantees in the 1850s. But sometimes you see an unknown person thrown in there, because I mean the records are prove that someone has a claim, but they just don't know, for one reason or another, you know, the records got lost. Okay, so what happened here is this parcel 32, about 11,500 square feet, upon which just about the entire front part of Waikiki Grand sits, was basically a Kuleana of unknown ownership. So what Waikiki Grand did, probably, I mean, they built this around maybe 1963 or 4 or something like that. It's one of the older hotels in Waikiki. They probably went to court, did a quiet title action, and you know, you have to show to the judge that you do due diligence and try to find who the owner of the Kuleana is. And apparently they convinced the court that they couldn't find the owner, and it was basically a given up Kuleana, and that the court would therefore just basically, you know, by default give the Kuleana property to the Waikiki Grand. So that looks like what happened here. But in fact, you know, most likely there are people out there in the world today who are descendants of the original Kuleana awardee who could claim this part of the property that's the Waikiki Grand sits on. And the real issue is, you know, finding those people, or those people, maybe if they're watching this video, they might know of some the ancestors who may have had a Kuleana claim in Waikiki. And if that's so, you know, you should try to do your research and find out if you might be entitled to ownership of this Kuleana upon which this half of the Waikiki Grand Hotel sits. And even though a lot of time has gone by and the courts have kind of finalized the stealing, basically, of this Kuleana, you know, if the rightful owner is found and can go to court, they can do a claim under, I guess it's called Rule 55 or Rule 60 of the Hawaii Civil Procedures, where you would ask the court to reopen this case and allow you to prove that you actually own this Kuleana. So hopefully some people out there who are watching this might believe that they own a Kuleana here on Kapahulu, and maybe they can try to go do the research and find out if they actually are the descendants that have a right to this land here. So that's it for today of Kuleanas and loss of land in Hawaii and what happens here. Aloha.